I'm here to take some souls with me to heaven. I want to just talk to you as a pastor, as a grandfather, and a great-grandfather. And I want to talk to those who are carrying a need. And my topic, if I were to choose one, would be the need in you and how to meet it. You see, we can hide our need. We can put on a front. It can look like everything is fine. Even families can fake it and look like they're the all-American family and everything is okay. And I've been thinking about the 58 years of preaching around the world and all the human need that I've seen. I was contemplating or thinking about a number of years ago, the son of one of the best-known television personalities in America. I won't tell his name. He was Mr. All-America. He was, in fact, had 2 of the top TV shows in America, always smiling, traveling around the world giving his upbeat American message of hope. And his son gave a message in the Forum in Texas, and I read about it in the Dallas Daily Morning News. His son got up in the Forum, and he'd had to come out. He was so broken. First place, he's the son of this well-known man. And he said, my life is a mess. He said, I just decided at 40 years of age, all I have to show for life is making money. I wasn't happy in my home when I left my wife. And he said, I've tried to find happiness with other affairs. And he said, recently my dad and I went out to the beach and he was rather reflective. And we were talking about our family. He said, I have 2 sisters that have been divorced, one of them twice, the other, the husband committed suicide. And he went on to say, I have a brother who's 34, he doesn't know what he's going to do. He sits at home. He said, my dad, who is traveling all over in his jet, giving these messages, turned to me and said, my life has passed me by, there's nothing in it, it's all a front. He said, I feel like life is passing me by. And he said, my mother, bless her heart, said, my mother, the kids are all gone, and dad's gone, and mother sits at home lonely and feels useless. And this, he said, in my family, there's a need that can't be met. We've tried everything, and I didn't know at the time because it was a wonderful man, and a wonderful family to all appearances, but messed up. And he said, there's a need there I can't explain. There's something deep, and my family hasn't found it. A number of years ago, when I wrote The Cross and Switchblade, and I was traveling around to television programs and radio shows, I was invited in a Chicago all-night radio program. I was one of 5 guests. I think it started at 11 and went to 3 o'clock or so. 5 guests. One of them was a comedian who had been divorced 10 times. I don't want to mention his name. And I was one of the guests. And for the first 2 hours, I sat there listening. This man mocked marriage. He said, I've been married 10 times. And he said, I'm getting married the 11th. And this 11th one was sitting in the audience. And he's for 2 hours, he was mocking marriage. He was mocking institution. He was challenging men to get out of their marriage if it's bad and find a younger, better-looking wife. And during the show, the host turned to me and said, Mr. Wilkerson, you haven't said anything. He shouldn't have said that. The Spirit of the Lord came on me, and I pointed to this man, and I said, sir, I think I've just met the loneliest man in America. I said, I think you cry yourself to sleep. I think this is an act. I said, you've mocked marriage, you've made fun of it. And I just say, I have met the loneliest man in America. And the host quickly went to commercial. After the show, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, I was leaving, and I didn't know how I'd get a cab or anything, but this comedian came up to me, and he said, Mr. Wilkerson, I've got to talk to you. Please let me take you to your hotel. I said, fine. We went to the parking lot, and she got on her side, and he got there and put his head on the steering wheel. Then he turned. I was in the back seat. He said, Reverend, you hit the nail on the head. You've just met the loneliest man in the world. He said, 10 women couldn't be wrong. He said, I have maligned this woman. I have maligned it. He said, I think I need God. He said, I have a need in me. And when it couldn't be met, I went from one woman to another trying to get somebody that would meet this hounding need in me that I didn't even know what it is. It's like an itch you can't scratch. And I prayed with him. I ministered to him and prayed. He prayed the sinner's prayer. But that's all I could do at the time. But you see, we can hide these things. But when we're alone, when everything is... When you have to face the silence. I was thinking this past week of some of the loneliest kids I've ever met in all my ministry in Harlem. Now, those are the early days of Teen Challenge ministry. God used me to raise up for drug addicts and alcoholics. And I had a motor scooter, and I went all through Harlem and Spanish Harlem, and I was walking the streets, and I met a teenage girl in the street corner. I was trying to get her into the ministry. She was a drug addict. And she said, Mister, I want you to come with me. I want to show you something. And she was a mainline heroin addict. And she took me into one of the rundown housing areas and into a dark, lightly lit room. And there were 5 deaf-mute teenagers. One maybe been a little older. One was a 17-year-old redheaded deaf-mute. And there was a couch, and there were a couple wooden milk crates, and they were sitting on. One needle, and they're shooting heroin. Now, the girl that invited me there knew sign language, and she cared for these kids. 5 of them pushing that dirty needle into their veins. And that 17-year-old girl looked at me as if to say, please don't be offended. Please don't be offended. I asked the girl to sign for me. And the little girl was signing. And I asked her, why, with all of your other problems, you can't speak and you can't hear? She was busy saying, we have needs too. We hurt. We're not accepted. And mister, we don't rob, we don't steal, we take government compensation money, and that's how we get our heroin. But this is the only thing, and this eases the pain. We get relief for a while. I tried to get them to say, come on in. I gave them invitations and told them how to get into Teen Challenge, and I prayed with them and left.